Hello and welcome. So today I'll be showing you how to replace the battery connector on an iPod Classic 5th, 6th or 7th gen. Now this is probably the most common thing that people break when doing battery replacements or hard drive upgrades on these iPod Classic 5th, 6th and 7th gens. These connectors are super fragile, and when you take them out with your tweezers or whatever, you can end up prying the whole connector off the logic board. And it is fixable, assuming the pads are still intact. If the pads aren't intact, you could still technically fix it if you ran wires, although the connector's not going to be on there securely enough to really plug back in. So if you have ripped this connector off the logic board, assuming the pads are still intact, I'll show you how to solder it back on. But before we get started, if the connector part's still intact and you've just broken that little brown or black plastic clip thingy, you can just replace that without having to replace the entire connector. What you do is you just get a pair of tweezers and you could just simply pry one off of another logic board, or you could get one off of AliExpress or something like that, and then you can just clip it into the white plastic thingy on the logic board, and that thing will tend to break after a certain number of times unclipping the battery. So if you've broken that part, it's actually a pretty simple fix that just takes like 2 minutes. So yeah, but anyways, let's get into the video here. So first things first, I assume you would have done this while taking the iPod apart. If that's the case, the iPod's already fully apart pretty much. So first things first, what you want to do is you want to get the logic board completely removed from the rest of the iPod. So if you haven't done that already, just unscrew the front plate, take all the screws out, unclip the screen, and get the logic board pretty much fully removed from that so it's all separate. So yeah, in order to get this back on, we will need to use a soldering iron. I like to use what's called a hot air rework station. You don't technically have to use one of those. You can do this with just a soldering iron, although it's pretty small and it's pretty fiddly. So if you've got one of those hot air rework stations, I'd definitely recommend using one of those. You can get a cheap one off of AliExpress for not actually that much money these days. So perhaps I'll have a link to one of those in the description. The cheap ones, they're not actually that bad. I used one of those for the first 2 or so years of fixing electronics, and then I got a better one. But the difference between the cheap one and the good one isn't actually that big. You can definitely get a lot done with one of the cheap ones. So if you do this often, or I don't know, if you just want to have a go and you think you might use one of those hot air rework stations often, I'll have a link to one in the description. I'm pretty sure you can get them for less than 50 Australian bucks. But if you are going to use one of those, what you would want to do is get some Captain tape and then just put a layer, as I've done here, over all the other components on the logic board, because you can end up cooking some of the chips and then the whole logic board's just going to die whenever you bring hot air over it if you heat things up a little bit too much. Another thing with the Captain tape, a lot of the Captain tape online isn't actually heat resistant. It'll say it is, but then you'll come and you'll get it and you'll actually try to use it with a hot air rework station and you'll just melt through the tape. So if that's the case, that stuff is fake and you want to get some actual good stuff. I don't know, it's hard to tell which listings are legit and which ones are the fakes on eBay and AliExpress these days. So when I get mine, I just get mine from JCar, the local electronics shop here, because I know it's going to be the real stuff. So if you do need some of that stuff and you're in Australia, yeah, they just sell it at JCar. But now over to the soldering iron. As you can see, I've got this little holder device thingy that I just put the logic board in. This makes repairs like this a whole lot easier. So this one's pretty high quality. You can get cheaper ones than this, but yeah, maybe I'll have a link to one of these in the description as well. And you just sort of hold it in place like what I've done here. So for the replacement battery connector, a lot of the time we can just use the one that snapped off, assuming all the legs are still there and everything. Although if you have lost it or it is broken, you can get replacement battery connectors off of AliExpress as well, for not very much money. I'm pretty sure they're just $1 or $2. It might be worth getting a couple of them as well, because you can break them while trying to put them back on, especially if you're not used to doing this type of a repair. First things first, just cover the area in some flux and get some leaded solder and just replace what solder was already on there with some leaded solder, because that stuff melts at a lower temperature and it'll just be a whole lot easier to solder this connector back on. So now what you want to do is hold the connector with your tweezers. Yeah, use your hot air rework station to solder it on. So what I like to do is point the hot air at the pads and just get them heated up to the point where they're sort of flowing, and then just quickly go in with the connector until I'm satisfied that all of those legs are sort of attached. and then I'll bring the hot air away, and then usually I give it a spray with alcohol pretty much straight away just to cool the board down and clean off all the flux. Because it is a plastic connector, right? If you hold it in there for too long, you're just going to melt it and deform it, and then it mightn't actually work properly. So if you are going to use the hot air rework station, you sort of want to get it in there, get it on the board, and then get out pretty quickly. But after I've got it on, well, first give it an inspection, as you can see I've done here. Look at it from the side, make sure it's sitting like flat, and that it's not like sticking up in any weird angle or something. And then what you want to do is check that each leg is actually stuck onto the logic board. So to do that, just get your tweezers out and give each leg like a little bit of a move. And if they're moving from side to side, then what I like to do is just touch up each one with the soldering iron at this stage. You could use the hot air rework station again, but after I've done this, I'll just go in and touch up each one with the soldering iron and just put some extra solder on each sort of leg as well, which can be kind of hard to do without bridging them, I know. But if you've got like a pretty decent amount of solder on each leg, it's going to hold the connector in place like a whole lot better. Like I put enough on solder on that like the whole leg is covered in solder. Maybe I'll draw a picture to illustrate that. But if the connector's like sort of sitting on top of the solder instead of being in the solder, it'll peel off again like pretty easily. So if you want to get this on attached as firmly as you can, you want to do it like that. So yeah, I'll just go over each one here. I'm pretty sure I do end up bridging some of the pads as well. If you do end up bridging the pads, what you can do is use some of this solder wick to wick up all the extra solder that you've put on there. If you have accidentally managed to bridge two of the pads like what I've done here when I was touching them up. Especially if you're planning to just attempt this with just a soldering iron and not hot air rework station, that's probably a pretty good thing to know because you're almost definitely going to bridge some of these two connections here. If you don't have any of this solder wick, what you can actually do is just use a bit of copper wire, just expose some of the ends, and then it'll sort of work pretty much the same way solder wick does as well, and you'll just be able to clean up any excess amount of solder. It's also worth noting that the two sort of legs at the back side, like at the bottom, facing outwards to the logic board, those two little legs, they don't actually do anything. They're just for structural rigidity of the connector. Because as you can see, if you look at the battery flex cable, you'll see there's only connections on one side of the actual connector. Or maybe that's not correct. Maybe all 5 of them do something. I'm just going to have another quick look under the microscope here. But I'm pretty sure it's only the 3 on the inward facing side that actually connect to anything. Oh, actually, no, scratch that. It looks like they all do connect. Yeah, no, all 5 of these pins actually do something. So you do need all 5 of these. Yeah, I thought it was just the 3 at the front, but after having another look under the microscope, it appears the 2 at the back also do connect to the battery flex cable at the front. Just make sure all the legs are soldered down properly and that none of them are touching each other pretty much. And so if you are going to have a go at this with just a soldering iron and not a hot air rework station, I should tell you a couple of things. Depending how much experience you have with soldering, that might not be a good idea. Like if you're not really experienced at soldering and all you have is like a cheap $20 soldering iron that doesn't have temperature control or anything and just plugs straight into the wall, the chance that you're actually going to get the connector back on is pretty much zero. If you're doing this with a soldering iron, what you're going to want is a soldering iron that has like a really fine sort of tip. And you're also going to want one that has the heating element in the tip. So like one of these T12 soldering irons is pretty good. Yeah, it needs to be fine so you can actually put the iron on the leg there. Yeah, like with one of those cheap soldering irons, like the bit's just too big. And also it takes a while to heat up as well. So it's going to be a big mess pretty much if you've just got a cheap soldering iron with a fat tip. You're going to also want like really thin sort of solder as well. The one I'm using right now is like thicker than what I usually use. It's 0.71 millimeters. I'm pretty sure that's what I used in the video. But ideally you'd have like 0.5 or less, honestly, for a connector like this. The thinner your solder is, the easier it's going to be. And again, you want the leaded stuff. The lead-free stuff, I don't know, maybe it's safer, but it just doesn't work as well, especially when you're doing stuff like this where it's like really small and all that. But pretty much, yeah, all you want to do is just solder it on without any of the legs touching each other, obviously. And without ripping any of the pads off the board. Because if you rip any of the pads off the board, then it's pretty much toast. I mean, it is technically possible to run some wires from the component that the leg was running to. But again, it's not the connector's not going to be like properly stuck down to the logic board if you're doing that. If you have ripped the pads off the board, I would honestly just recommend buying a replacement logic board. And I'll have some links for those in the description. You can get them off of AliExpress. They are somewhat pricey. You might have better luck coming across another one just simply buying another used iPod off of eBay or wherever you can acquire them, depending on if you can get a good deal or not, because sometimes you can get whole iPods for cheaper than you can get those replacement logic boards. So now after you're satisfied with that, spray the whole thing down with isopropyl alcohol and give it a wipe down, and you'll clean up all that excess flux and stuff. And now let's just reassemble the iPod. So screwing it all back together. And now we've got to plug in a hard drive, and we'll plug in a battery as well. As you can see, this one also had a bit of a busted LCD by the looks of it. So I ended up having to take it apart again and put in another LCD. But we did confirm that the battery connector was working there. As you can see here, I have plugged in another LCD and another battery, and we've gotten it to boot up. Then I just went ahead and reassembled it pretty much. I put in a new iFlash quad with 228GB micro SD cards, and I put a 3000 mAh battery in it as well. And we actually had 2 of these iPods to do. So this was a mail-in repair for a customer. He'd attempted to fix 2 of his iPod Classics, and both connectors had come off the logic board. So he'd sent them in to get me to finish them off, and yeah, I was able to fix both of them. We did the same thing for both of these. We just put new battery connectors on, and then I put in iFlash quads with 2 64GB micro SD cards to give us 128GB of storage, and then 3000 mAh batteries in each as well. And the rear housings was pretty beat up as well, so I had to do a little bit of work on those to get them to sort of sit in there properly again. And then afterwards I gave both the iPods a bit of a wipe down, and as you can see I got the click wheel looking way cleaner than what it was before just by wiping it with isopropyl alcohol. At the start it was like nearly brown, looking like you would probably have to replace it. But yeah, just after wiping the whole thing down, as you can see, it's like looking, I wouldn't say new, but definitely a lot better than what it was. And yeah, that's about all for this video. If you want more details on how to fix a iPod Classic 6th or 7th gen, just go check out my full-length tutorial. I'll have a link to that in the description. Or you can just find it on my channel actually. It's the iPod Classic 6th gen Ultimate Repair Guide or something like that. We do a very similar sort of thing, put an iFlash quad and a bigger battery in it to what we're doing here. But that'll have a lot more sort of little tips and tricks on how to upgrade iPod Classic 6th and 7th gens. Hopefully you were able to solder the battery connector back onto your iPod Classic. If you weren't and you want me to fix it for you, you can send me an email at this email address here, contact@partspluspods.com.au, and you can schedule a mail-in repair. I've been charging like $50 Australian to do this repair recently, $50 plus postage. That might go up in the future because inflation is getting pretty bad all over the world at the moment. So if you're interested in getting your iPod fixed, just give me an email there and we'll give you a quote or whatever. But again, the pads will need to be intact as well. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you liked it. Hope you were able to get your iPod fixed. Give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. Hope to see you next time, and bye.